Kentucky from the 2-6 precinct.
I'm Councilman Salam.
Oh, council member?
This district 9.
Oh, okay. Have a good one.
Ain't nothing changed, nothing new here to see. This ain't nothing but some political maneuvering.
America.
Welcome to the eulogy, eat it up. It's called political buffoonery.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome to This Week in DUMBmocracy, where we showcase some of the dumbest newsmakers of the week. I freaking hate hypocrisy, especially when it comes to elected officials and flexing their power of, don't you know who I am, and the like. We've seen it before in other videos, like with Lauren Boebert, that we've discussed previously, and now we're going to be discussing it with a member of the City Council for the People's Republic of New York City, who basically only had to identify himself to skate by on a traffic stop. It's the perks of power, ladies and gentlemen, and we need to stop it immediately. We're going to get into the story in a moment, but first, please subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you don't miss any other shows. And if you like what you see and hear in this or any other video on the channel, smash that thumbs up button, like, comment, share the show with your friends, all that good stuff, because all of that feeds the YouTube algorithm.
Feed me, Seymour.
Thanks so much for all of you who are helping get the word out about the channel, and for anybody visiting who hasn't subscribed yet, I hope today's the day I earn that subscription. So we're going to get into a story that occurred in the People's Republic of New York City involving a member of the City Council who happens to be the head of the Public Safety Committee on the City Council, who was pulled over, complained about the traffic stop and being possibly racial profiling, and then the body cam video coming out showing that it was nothing of the sort, but yet there's still many problems with that video because the NYPD officer involved just let the city council members skate by with multiple infractions based upon his word, based upon who he is.
What a mess.
It's hypocrisy all over, and we're going to get into it right now. So we're going to be talking about the interaction between New York City Council member Yusef Salaam and a member of the NYPD during a traffic stop. Now, Salam made a statement before the body cam video can come out, and I want you to pay attention to the tenor of the statement he made, and then we're going to compare it to what we see in the body cam to see if the two match up.
Video 40 seconds long, Councilman Yusef Salaam saying it was a triggering interaction, but the NYPD says the officer was nothing but respectful. Councilman Yusef Salaam, one of the exonerated members of the Central Park Five, says he was stopped by police Friday night without an explanation as he was driving through Harlem with his family. In a statement, the council member says, in part, quote, "I introduced myself as Councilman Yusef Salaam and subsequently asked the officer why I was pulled over. Instead of answering my question, the officer stated, 'We're done here,' and proceeded to walk away."
Sort of implying that the officer was being rude to him in the traffic stop, attributing a pretty snide statement as the officer was sort of dismissive and walking away after the council member identified himself. Let's continue on.
But after making these allegations, the NYPD released body cam video. It shows the interaction between Salam and the officer. At no point do we hear Salam asking the officer why he was stopped.
Now would be a good time to examine the body cam footage.
Roll your back window, please. Hey, hello, I'm Officer Kentucky from the 2-6 precinct.
I'm Councilman Salam.
Oh, council member?
This district 9.
Oh, okay. Have a good one. Yeah, you're working, right? All right, take care, sir.
Definitely seemed professional, polite. He did identify himself as a council member, said, "Are you working?" I guess the response was yes. And the officer went about his way. Now, I, for one, want to know why this traffic stop occurred. The officer didn't seem to mention what happened. Let's go back to the news story.
According to the police report, the basis for the stop, a vehicle and traffic law infraction. The officers pulled over Salam's blue sedan with Georgia plates for driving with dark tinted windows beyond legal limits, a violation of New York state law.
Now, that's very interesting for a couple of reasons. Number one, the over-tinted windows, yes, that is a violation under the New York State VTL, the Vehicle and Traffic Law, and typically you get a ticket for that. This officer chose not to do that to the council member. Second, he has out-of-state plates on his vehicle. Now, if you want to run for office in New York, you have to be a New York State resident, which means you have to register to vote from your residence. The council member having out-of-state plates, Georgia plates on his vehicle, seems very curious to me, especially considering that many members of the city council will have official plates assigned to them that they'll have on their vehicles, so that way everybody knows they're an official vehicle. Very interesting that this council member chose to have Georgia plates. I'm sure there's no insurance fraud or anything like that going on here, right? But in New York City, tinted windows are an especially sensitive issue, especially for the NYPD.
The NYPD saying, throughout this interaction, the officer conducted himself professionally and respectfully. He followed all proper procedures, including procedures that were put in place after Detective Russell Timoshenko was shot and killed through tinted windows in 2007.
Again, this is why NYPD will pull you over for over-tinted windows. It's a safety hazard, and there was an officer that was killed through tinted windows. It's taken very seriously by the NYPD. The fact that we're letting a council member just skate by on this in a car that has out-of-state plates, it seems very suspicious to me. And by the way, as pointed out earlier, this member of the city council, he's the head of the Public Safety Committee. Talk about all kinds of hypocrisy going on here. Like what you see so far? Go ahead and smash that thumbs up button. Also, leave us a comment and tell us what you're thinking. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another show.
Salam, who was recently named chairman of the City Council's Public Safety Committee, was supposed to attend tonight's NYPD ride-along with other City Council members to understand and learn how police officers deal with the public. This comes as the City Council is set to override Mayor Adams' veto on the How Many Stops Act, a bill that would require officers to document every interaction they have with New Yorkers.
Imagine the burden that places on the NYPD in having to document every single interaction with a person in public while they're on patrol. That's crazy. There's enough to do with documenting the interactions that lead to arrests, that lead to complaints, whatever the case may be, but to document every single interaction between the police and a member of the public, that leaves no time for policing. You're going to be inundated with paperwork.
Paperwork's not really my jam.
You're going to make the police stop, pull out a smartphone or something, and document an interaction and then go back to their job? They're going to be stopping every 5 minutes. It's completely crazy. And while I'm sympathetic to the NYPD, I'm not so sympathetic to the discretion that they have in dealing with these interactions about the over-tinted windows. They gave you the rationale for why they pull over vehicles for that reason. And if it would have been you or me, I think we would have gotten a ticket. But the council member, the head of the Public Safety Committee, he just has to say, this is who I am, and the police just back off automatically.
Doesn't seem fair to me.
He doesn't even have to say, don't you know who I am, like previous politicians have done in other places. He just has to identify himself, and that's good enough.
Darren Porcher is a retired NYPD lieutenant.
However, if there's a problem with the process, he's at the forefront of the Public Safety Commission in the City Council. Therefore, he can act as a solution and not the problem. And this is where we manifest to a better place between police and community relationships.
Sure, right, absolutely, yeah.
The NYPD saying tonight that the officer should be commended for his polite, professional, and respectful conduct and for using his discretion appropriately. The PBA also standing by its officer, that is, saying the council member owes him an apology.
You should be apologizing to us.
That's right.
Professionalism, courtesy. Yeah, I'm going to give this officer that. Absolutely. Very well done on that end. But discretion? No, because if this would have been you or me, like I said earlier, we would have gotten a ticket. But because this is a council member, he backs off immediately. That's because within the People's Republic of New York City, it is so ingrained nowadays that there is no truth but power. Council member outranks member of the public. So therefore, he gets a pass. And it's absolutely disgusting. Hypocrisy like this is discussed at great length in my book, Schnooks, Crooks, Lies, and Scoundrels, a field guide to identifying political buffoons, available right now on Amazon, at Barnes & Noble, and other online bookstores. When we talk about this sort of hypocrisy, I think we're getting to a tipping point in our country where it's not going to be tolerated much longer. We see politicians on both sides of the aisle pulling rank on police interactions or any other unfortunate mishaps they may have with people, basically saying, as I've said many times in this video, "Don't you know who I am?" And then getting out of a situation that the public, a member of the public like you or me, would never be able to talk our way out of. This is a member of the Public Safety Committee on the City Council, the head of it, by the way, who tried to shade this interaction with the police as being confrontational, snide, disrespectful, maybe even throwing in a little bit of racial profiling in it as well. You'll see that he does discuss how racial profiling plays into police interactions. So there's a lot going on here from this Democrat member of the City Council who already has a bad taste in his mouth from dealing with the police based upon his prior personal history. And while that may be understandable, you gotta check your personal prejudices at the door when you're serving the public. That said, I'm also pissed at this NYPD officer for just letting this council member skate by once he identifies himself. It's like he knew, oh, this is a person in power. We have to not deal with him. We might get in trouble. And I understand that part of it from the police officer's perspective. And while I understand why he used his discretion in not continuing the interaction, I need to point out that hypocrisy, because if that would have been Mr. or Mrs. instead of council member, the ticket would have been forthcoming. As far as the police union's position that this council member owes the police officer and the police department an apology, yeah, okay, but the people who are owed the apology here are the public from both the NYPD and this council member, because they both exhibited the hypocrisy of power that normal people are suffering under at this point. They are powerless at the discretion of the NYPD, and they don't possess the power of a city council member to sort of wave off an interaction with the NYPD the way that this council member did.
You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
But hey, listen, that's just my opinion. I want to know what you guys think about this interaction. Did the police abuse its discretion in cutting off the interaction with clearly over-tinted windows when the driver identified himself as a New York City council member? Let's talk about the perks of power and the privilege of being an elected official in the comments together. And please, if you like this video, share it out, leave a comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all the stuff we talked about earlier, because we need to have conversations about the perks of power that these hypocrites have at every level of government that's exerted and shown every day this week in DUMBmocracy.
All views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily of the mainstream media and may offend some listeners. It's called political buffoonery.